Travel is more than just ticking off countries. It's about the people, the culture, the food, the moments. I'm Pippa Hudson, and on Wonder the World, I invite you to join me every week as we explore destinations both near and far, with the help of fellow adventurers who share their unique travel stories. Listen to my podcast wherever you get them.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
All right, it's 24 minutes now before 12 o'clock. You know what we do every single Wednesday around this time. We do the Sharing Space. This is where we share our stories about what's happened at work, in the office, with your partner, while you're on holiday, what happened in your family, whatever you want to share with us on the Sharing Space. How do you do that? Well, you can send me an email on cm@702.co.za, just like the story we're playing you today, sent by one of our listeners. And we're going to play a WhatsApp voice notes to hear that story. And then afterwards, I want to go to your calls on 011-883-0702 to share your own experiences, if you have experienced something similar, or if you've got advice for the listener, if indeed advice is what they're asking for. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Here's the story for today.
Greetings, Clement and the listeners. I am a 35-year-old woman. I recently bought a house. It's a 3-bedroom home, and me and my son only use 2 bedrooms and use the other room as a guest room. I've had relatives come over and see the house to celebrate the purchase with me. However, one of my relatives made a very unfair request asking me to give her the guest room. So she's essentially asking to move in with me and my son. I found it very problematic, but I did not have the words to say no, so I let her stay with us for a while. She's temporarily employed and she does contribute to the household a little. But I've soon realized that I don't like living with her, one, and her hygiene is not the best. So I lied to her and told her that I have visitors coming and I needed her to leave so I can use the guest room. She's been gone for a month now, but she won't stop calling me, asking to come back. I don't know how to tell her I don't want her to live with me despite the guest room being empty. Have any of your listeners experienced this? I need help, guys. Please help me.
Okay, Anonymous. I think a lot of us can relate with the story that Anonymous is sharing, right? There's often this expectation that because you live in whether it's a 2-bedroom house and you're not using the other bedroom, or maybe it's a 1-bedroom house or apartment, and you have helped someone before stay with you. Sometimes there's an expectation that because you've got space to accommodate them, then you should. And I wonder what advice you could give Anonymous this morning. I suppose, what I would say to you, Anonymous, is your peace comes first. Your comfort comes first. Yes, we need to help each other as families. But if you feel that you have done your best, you've assisted and done your best, then you don't need to be forced to do things that you are uncomfortable with. A home is supposed to be a place of comfort for you. And if you're going to be living with someone that you don't really, or that you are not comfortable with them living with you, then, that defeats the purpose of what your home and how your home is supposed to make you feel. So I think, do you boo? As the young ones would say, do what makes you happy. There are many times that some people who live in 3-bedroom houses, 4-bedroom houses, more, and their family members or friends who think just because there are rooms that are unoccupied and fully furnished, then it means you are actually looking for housemates. Or they feel, but I can stay with you for 6 months because there are 3 rooms that are not being used. And that's not usually the case. And I sometimes find this even when I'm driving from home in the village in Mpumalanga back to Joburg. Sometimes I just want to be alone in the car. And sometimes my mom will ask for a lift for other people. And I'll say to her, it's not that I don't want to give people a lift. It's just that moment of driving from Valbank, which is the name of my village, all the way to Joburg is a moment of reflection for me. I just want to be alone in the car. I don't want to talk to anyone. It's a moment where I talk to God. It's a moment where I reflect on various issues. And I don't want that to be interrupted. And some people don't understand that. But what I do is I take it further and I'll say, I can assist the person with getting to their destination. So how about I offer them transport money? How about I organize an alternative transport for them? But I want to try and guard that space for myself. What do you think? What are your thoughts on what Anonymous is raising this morning? 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
The sharing space.
On the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
Right, it's 17 minutes now before 12 o'clock. We've heard from Anonymous, who has done a favor for a family member. She's got an extra bedroom, but now she's like, I miss my place. The family member doesn't really want to leave, and I'm just broadening it because I do think that there are many other people listening to us who have probably gone through the same thing. And please, let's not mistake this for not caring for families. You can still care for your family, and you can still want to have your place back. And as I said to you, it depends on how you feel. If you feel, Anonymous, that you have done your best, you've provided this person with accommodation, and that is what satisfies you, then I suppose do what makes you happy. But as I've always said, I think we have a responsibility to some family members that need our assistance, that need accommodation, that need some transport money, and we need to do our bit to contribute there. But equally so, we must avoid a situation where then the same family members or the friends end up taking advantage of you. Again, just because you've got an extra bedroom or 2 bedrooms that are not being used at the time, doesn't necessarily mean you want them to be occupied. You may still enjoy your space, just living there on your own. So have you been in a situation like that? Have you been in a situation where there are family members or friends that are expecting you to accommodate them just because you have an additional room, even when they could afford to be in their own homes? But they're thinking, well, there are extra rooms here, I might as well use them. And there's no understanding of how you may actually just want to live like that, where there are rooms that are available, they're used for guests, but they're not rooms that are waiting necessarily to be occupied by someone who stays there for much longer. How do you handle situations like that? And what advice do you have for Anonymous? 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Good morning, Clement. In America, here's my advice to Anonymous, if she needs advice anyway. Anonymous, if you're struggling with the word no, I can't stay with you here, please find your own place. Tell your relative that you have another guest coming for winter. After winter, tell them that you have someone also coming for 3 weeks until December. I think they will soon realize that you don't want them there. That's it. Otherwise, be straight with them. Tell them to find another place. Thank you, Tembi.
Good morning, Clement. I just want to say this morning's show has been top tier broadcasting, and all the best to everyone in DC. And this one is for Anonymous. You gave your cousin the opportunity to prove themselves, and so they did. Now the 10 is yours to prove to yourself that you have the audacity to take back that room and prove to yourself what it is you can do with that space, because it's yours. Thanks. Second sentence.
Yeah.
Hi, Clement. Yo. I think it's in the culture of black people, this thing, because I bought a house in 2019 and 1 room was unoccupied. And I was planning to turn that room into my personal gym because I usually don't enjoy going to the gym. And the next thing you know, boom, an aunt will be bringing their children to your house without even your approval. They just inform you that so and so will be coming to your house and staying with you. It's Vincent in Western.
Yeah, Vincent, I think, a lot of people can relate with that. So How do you manage a situation like that? Tato on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, the anonymous should tell her aunt that she'll be working from home due to changes at work, so she has to turn the guest room into a study office. I don't know, will that work? I wonder. And then another one says, Clement, anonymous should learn to say no. I have just learned how to say no as well recently with the similar request and setup of a guest bedroom. I'm so proud of myself. That is a message there from Anonymous. So, yeah, and I mean, obviously, I suppose you're not saying that people must just say no for the sake of saying no, right? And again, don't get me wrong. I do think that we need to at least hold space for our loved ones. I think that we, especially for people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I somehow feel that responsibility because I have seen how difficult it has been for each generation to try and make it out there. And I think every generation has a responsibility. And if you think there is a way you can assist your loved ones, I think you should. You should find ways to do that. But equally so, if you think you've done your best, you have assisted where you should, you've intervened where you should, I also think it's okay for you to just allow yourself to say no and enjoy life and be comfortable with that and not be manipulated or forced to do things you don't want to do. Another message says, hi Clement, honestly, as black people, entitlement is a big thing. Saying no doesn't mean she's not caring. A home is a personal space that we all need to be happy with and peaceful. She must just be honest and say, at this stage, we do not want to live with any other people. I stayed in 2021 with 4 extra people because I have a cottage and staff quarters which my helper was not using. After 6 months, I told them to leave and I became an enemy, but I'm happy and don't care really. I had to say no without feeling guilty. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. That is typed in bold and capital letters there. Let's go back to your WhatsApp voice notes.
You know, personal space is so important and we take that for granted. I moved into my house for 6 months. I moved back home because I couldn't take my son with me. And now I'm married. I have to live with my husband, with my son. And I miss those little times that I had with my son in that house when he used to visit me, come over for a weekend, come over for holidays. And, you know, I can't have that now because I decided to get married. But basically what I'm saying, it's those moments that you actually need for yourself and that will actually grow you into being somebody you want to be. So don't take that for granted. Just be honest with your relative and tell them that you can't live with them and you're not comfortable with having them there. Case closed. Kabelo from Pinville. Bye.
Well,
Yes, Clement. Clement, I would like to remain anonymous. Clement, I've heard that wherein someone came in as a person who needed assistance, health-wise, and then when that person became okay, that person didn't want to leave. And then we had to create a trip that we're going somewhere else. And then the house was just going to undergo fumigation. And then that's when we lost that person. Thank you.
Clem, Tato here. Incredible show, dude. One of your best shows since you started broadcasting. You know, Clem, when I moved to Johannesburg in 94, a cousin of mine asked to stay with me for a month. It ended up being 3 years because I couldn't say no. And I've always been that guy that can't locate my no. But I have since found my no. And I found that just be honest with people. Anonymous must be honest. That listen, this is actually space that I share with my child, and we don't want to share it with other people on a long-term basis. That's all. The other day, I was at the Botswana border driving back to Joburg, and a guy in a bus that I know asked me for a ride back. And I told him, unfortunately, I can't give you a ride because this is my me time. I use these drives for me and myself and to return phone calls if I need to return phone calls. So unfortunately, I guard that time jealously. I can't give you a ride. And he said he understood. I hope he did.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tato, for the comment earlier about the broadcast. But I absolutely agree with you, which is why I said earlier, that's also my me time. When I go back home, home from Joburg, it's about 2 hours away. It's not that far, but that's my me time. That's the time I'm taking to pray, to talk to God, to look within, just have some time with myself. I just want to sing and listen to my favorite music. And that's the time that I also guard jealously. But to some people, it appears to them as if you don't care, you don't want to give someone a lift. That's why I said sometimes I'll go to the extent of arranging alternative transport for you, because that's the time that I guard jealously. Unathi, you are calling us from Centurion. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Clement. Thank you for the opportunity. Sure. In fact, as I'm listening to you guys, I realize that there's something good about what you're doing in your own spaces. Maybe in the process of people wanting to be closer to you, it's not so much about maybe trying to take advantage or maybe crowding your space. Maybe it's the energy, the positive energies that you have that they benefit from. Sometimes we must also look into that to say people maybe want to get close to you to be better people themselves, right? And that, for me, is one of the things that maybe the more you engage a person, the more you understand to say, okay, so if you want to stay with me, what is it that makes you want to stay here? If there are other spaces that you can occupy, maybe the more we get to know better about each other, maybe the more it will actually make sense for you to understand exactly the contribution that you make. I mean, you're a good show host. And maybe there's a lot that people benefit from that by actually occupying space with you. And obviously, and all the great other callers that have actually gave feedback, because you can see that the feedback that we've been getting is people who are actually, I'll say they are even better in society. And Kat just gave you as well the message to say people are looking for different things, Clement. And people want to be associated with better people. Maybe that's one of the things.
Yeah, but it mustn't come at my cost. I hear what you say. Yeah?
But it's not about the cost, Clement, but you must also understand the benefit, because when people are benefiting from what you do, maybe they will actually contribute towards a better society, a better South Africa.
No,
because of the benefits that you have that they don't have.
Yeah, or maybe they're enriching conversations that both of you are going to have. They're going to benefit someone else on the other side. I hear that. I think you make a great point there, Unathi. I just think I also need to be considered, because what's the point of enriching the next person when I'm taking away from myself? And I just think we sometimes have to guard our own personal spaces with jealousy, because that's our moment. I mean, for me, it's a moment when I replenish. I've got social anxiety. I don't like being in places with too many people. So when I'm by myself, that's me trying to recharge. And because my work involves that, my work involves walking into environments, and you have to talk to people, or people want to talk to you, people want to take pictures with you. I need to recharge when I'm on my own. And that's my opportunity to recharge. Otherwise, I'm going to be out there to the world and I'm a mess.